My name's Jake, I'm a rider for Old Man Mountain, and this is my Hellenic Mountain race recap. Is that in focus? My name's Jake, I'm a rider for Old Man Mountain. I'm here in Lefkimi, Corfu, which is where I'm based at the moment, and this is my Hellenic Mountain race recap. I've been bikepacking the last few years, ever since COVID time. Through the world of YouTube, I found the mountain race series as well as ultra racing. I think the very first one I watched was the Silk Road mountain race. As I delved deeper into it, of the three races, the Hellenic Mountain race seemed the easiest, which may or may not be correct. Still going. I'm sure it said 7k of undulating gravel road, and this is definitely not that. So my initial goal was just to finish the race. Amazing if you get it done in about 7 days. The first day went incredibly well, and I was sort of brushing shoulders with some really strong riders who put the dream in my head to try and get it done in about 4 days, which is a huge shot. Unfortunately, due to mechanicals, fitness, sleep strategy or lack of, and fueling, which I need to work on, that reality came crashing down. But I did manage to get it done in 5 days, 6 hours. So I was pretty happy. 3 moments really come to mind. 2 of them were coming over the top of some of the mountain passes. The first one was after CP2 with a rider called Matt at sunset. Second one was coming over another pass with a rider called Christoph. Both of us were very much in the hole, pushing our bikes, finding it very tough, but it was really nice to be accompanied in that sufferfest. And finally, maybe the most satisfying was, well, I got another puncture just before the final climb, before the wind turbines to Nafpaktos. But getting that sorted, consuming every calorie I had, and then absolutely going for it on the last climb. So seeing Nafpaktos below you with like a 20k descent was very satisfying. So on day 3, a big one was a sidewall slash that I caused by moving my bike through a derelict building, made worse by the fact that my spare inner tubes, the valves were too short. I didn't check before I packed, which is a rookie error. And with the sound of free hubs constantly whizzing past as riders came past me, that was very frustrating. And another low moment was on my final sleep. I'd sort of bedded down at 6 in the morning out the front of a cafe veranda just to try and get 3 hours because I was really struggling. And then the cafe owner, understandably, was a little bit disgruntled that I was sleeping too close to the entrance. So I was moved on after 30 minutes. The sun came up, I couldn't sleep. So that final day was a real grind. I really tried to pace my efforts on the climbs. Obviously there was many of them, and the descents. Actually descending is definitely the thing that I need to work on. But certainly for the climbs I really tried to pace my effort. And if it got too tough, I rely heavily on music to get me through. I learned that I definitely cannot cope with 30 minutes of sleep per night. I certainly need a little bit more. On the whole, my setup was great. I can't fault anything that I brought. I jumbled together just a bunch of bike packing stuff and old snowboarding stuff and just warm layers for all my kit and sleeping bags and stuff like that. I think the kit was absolutely fine. I carried too much stuff. I carried an extra spare set of clothes to sleep in. In the bike packing trips, I really like to sleep clean, so I always have a wash before I go to bed. But I found that in the race I was perfectly happy just bedding down in the kit I was wearing for the day, which is pretty gross, but it means you can pack a bit lighter. I was begging for a 30-tooth chain ring as well. Maybe the one thing I didn't think about was the size of my chain ring. I've got a 34-tooth chain ring, and as soon as I got to registration I saw everyone else seemed to have 28s and 30s, so I'll be going for a 30 next time. I spent quite some time trying to work out what would be a fueling system I could keep up for days without it upsetting my stomach. So I was aiming for about 50 grams of carbs per hour. I think maybe in a normal flatter race that would have worked. I didn't really consider the amount of elevation and the effort that would require, and I really felt underfueled for a lot of the race. On the occasion that I did get to a shop and I chugged a litre of juice and eaten 4 croissants and had some pasta, the 3-4 hours afterwards I just felt incredible. So going ahead, I need to eat a little bit more. My plan was purely to ride until I needed to sleep, and then sleep for 30 minutes, and then try and do it again. That worked for about 36 hours, and then the wheels started to fall off. So I started to adjust accordingly. Other well-seasoned riders gave me lots of advice on, you should have some more sleep, mate. So going forward, I'll be doing a bit more of that. I found spending time with other riders was a real mental boost. It really takes your focus away from the task at hand. I was crossing wheels with a few riders quite consistently. So a guy called Tanner Jackson, Matt Schweiker, Christoph Claris, and Tom Morgan. Just back and forth almost throughout a lot of the race. So got to know them quite well, so that was really nice. And another person that really stood out was on my second night in the bivvy. It was about 4 AM in Metsovo, and this woman, I'd just set up my kit, and this woman ran out of a bakery towards me, and I thought I was going to get moved on or shouted at or something, because I was in a bit of a public space. And she ran over and gave me some cheese sandwiches and some bottles of water, so that was a real godsend. Definitely coming over the top to the wind turbines to see the finish line below. That was definitely smiled and was happy then. And also finally managing to reseat the rear tyre with the dodgy short valves on the inner tubes. Again, very satisfying, because I was contemplating the scraps at that point. I was totally elated. It was really nice to see a bunch of riders that I recognised, had ridden with. Everyone was hanging around at the finish line with beers and food and water. So yeah, immediately welcomed. That was really nice. That was a really good touch. Crossed the finish line, let go of the bike, a few hugs, beers, ice cream, shower, and then basically just fell apart due to DOMs. Our legs were in bits. Yeah, plan your fueling around the elevation and the effort that would be required to get the elevation done. It will really make a difference. And also, water is abundant on the course, so you probably don't need to carry as much, which will be a big weight saving.